Live on WFLA now. Feel good and live your best life with Bloom Health Club. Here's Gail Guayardo.
Nearly 7 million people in the U.S. and 147 million worldwide will develop alopecia in their lifetime. And our next guest was diagnosed with alopecia back in 2021 and has been documenting her journey on social media, sharing how she found hope after hair loss. Welcome the newest member of the Bloom Health Club, Analis Bailey. Analis, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hi, Gail. I'm really honored to be here today.
So talk to us a little bit about your story and when you were diagnosed, because I know you were diagnosed with a very aggressive form of alopecia.
Yes. So at the time of my diagnosis, I actually knew no one or had ever even really heard of alopecia. The hair loss started at the very end of 2020 and went into 2021. And within 6 months of finding, the first bald spot in my head, I lost all of the hair on my body. So I have Alopecia Universalis, which means total and complete hair loss everywhere. There's totalis, there's areata, there's a few different types of alopecia. But within all the alopecia cases in the world, about only 1% will be diagnosed with universalis, which is what I have. So it's very progressive, very rare of the case that I have.
So, you described yourself early on as a woman with locks and locks of beautiful curly hair. You said your hair defined you, even at a cultural level.
Yeah.
So it must have been devastating when you got this diagnosis.
It was. I loved my hair, loved to do new fun things to it, put braids in it, wear it curly. And I think as women, hair has so much weight in our identity. And then as a black woman, hair holds weight in your identity. It holds historical value. It just has so much meaning, hair. So to watch it literally fall out in my hands, it was the most pain I've ever experienced, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. And so it took me a while to get to the place to accept it, and then accept it for myself, and then allow others into my journey in hopes that they would accept me too.
And you've been very, vulnerable and very open in your journey. I mean, we had on Bloom, our globally syndicated show, we have video of you kind of showing some regrowth of your eyebrows. And you said that was really exciting because you weren't expecting the eyebrows and the eyelashes to grow back. And you say penciling them the rest of the way in is almost cathartic. It's almost become like an art form for you.
Yes. So I don't have eyebrows still. My lashes are growing back and I love putting on mascara. So that's been fun. My eyebrows they're gone for the most part, but some of them are growing back. But yes, I love to pencil them in. I love doing makeup. So just finding fun ways to, shape my face and kind of have a new look with how I do my eyebrows has been therapeutic. It's been really fun for me. And people often ask, Annalise, do you wish your hair would completely grow back? And my answer today would be no, because I've just really fully embraced how I look without it.
Yeah, and you look absolutely
Thank you, Gail.
Beautiful. And you say there are treatment options on the market, but those treatment options do come with their share of risks. And so you've decided to just embrace, this chapter of your life.
Yeah. So every case of alopecia is different. So I have people that I've connected with online who, will chat back and forth about our experiences, and they are going through treatments. They are taking pills and they're taking different, injections at the dermatologist. When I first started losing my hair loss, I did do cortisone injections. So it's like a steroid. Didn't see any, regrowth there. So I did, some topical treatments. Also didn't see any regrowth, but my dermatologist at that time had 2 other alopecia patients, and they did see that regrowth. So after probably 8 or 9 months of trying different things, I kind of just decided it just wasn't worth it. I didn't want to move forward with any treatment. There are more things that the FDA are looking into, different pills. But for me and my journey, I've just kind of said, you know what, I don't want to go the treatment route. But everyone is different. And I do know people who are currently in treatment for it.
We talked about this on Bloom, the syndicated show, and this episode is coming out Wednesday if you guys have a chance to watch the television version of it. But we talked about your career as a journalist. I mean, not only just as a woman and the cultural aspects of just our hair becomes our identity, but you would have to put best face forward for your job. How did it impact that?
That was once I came to terms with losing my hair for myself, then I had to come to terms with, okay, I'm going to go into different studios and interview different people and have TV hits weekly. How am I going to present myself? Am I going to wear a wig? Am I going to show up bald and feel like I have to explain myself? And it took a lot of work. It took months and months and prayers and crying to figure out how I wanted to present myself now to the world. And when I was diagnosed and kind of a few months after that, I had the opportunity to interview a couple of celebrities and athletes that also have alopecia. And I wrote a story for my then job. And when that published in print, that was like the day that I said, you know what, this story is going to publish about them. And that's when I'm going to kind of take to my own social media and kind of come out with my alopecia too. So it definitely was a journey of self-acceptance and then letting the outside world in via my career kind of accept me too.
You do have hundreds of thousands of people that follow you on all different types of platforms, and we're going to talk about that. But you talked to me about finding Analis, who she is without hair. And I know, to people maybe listening or watching, they're like, but this kind of, this change of life is very profound.
Yeah. So on one side, it's like, oh, it's just hair. But then it's like, it's not just hair. That is sometimes that's who you are. That's kind of where you find your value and your worth, your outside appearance. So it took therapy and lots of nights in the prayer closet to try to come to terms with that's not where I can find my worth and my value. And you mentioned like social media following. It's been so worth it to have people, DM me and message me and be like, I have been wearing a wig for years and never felt comfortable with anyone, outside my family seeing me with no hair. But I came across a video of yours and now I feel comfortable to take, my wig off. So that makes it all worth it to see that, my journey has been able to encourage and uplift other young women and just people in general all over the world with their own hair loss. But it definitely, it's been a journey, Gail.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. And how do you decide like to wear a wig, not to wear a wig? Like,
yeah. And I never really, so wigs for me are accessories. So I never really thought of it as like problematic if I'm going to wear a wig or if I'm not going to wear a wig. But people are very vocal on social media, like, oh, like she must not really be confident if she's wearing a wig. Like she must not think she's beautiful while she's bald. And it's like, no, my wig just matched my outfit today. Like, no, I just wanted to wear a wig. So just coming to terms with like, some days I do wear a wig. Some days, we attend the same church. Sometimes it's cold in there. So I'm going to wear a wig so I don't freeze.
Yeah.
But if it's hot outside, I'm going to not wear a wig. Today I'm talking about alopecia. So it's like a no-brainer. I'm not going to wear a wig. So it really just depends on, how I'm feeling, but at the start, it definitely depended on like, how are these people going to perceive me? But now it's like, how do I feel today? How do I want to show up in this space today?
I want to bring in our Bloom producer, the dynamic Sarah Smith, who it just happens to be a coincidence that all three of us attend the same church. And on Bloom, the globally syndicated television show, you said your faith got you through your darkest days, especially during the early diagnosis days.
Yeah. So, 2020, everyone was going through something. It was COVID. There's a lot going on politically in the world. And that's when my hair loss started at the end of 2020. So I kind of just felt like, God, what are you doing? Like, I'm already going through enough and now you're taking away my hair. And I had multiple come to Jesus moments with like, this is not something I can like blame God. And I need to be so thankful that God chose me in a way to, kind of carry this so I can encourage and uplift other people. So my faith played the biggest role in like my healing journey and knowing that, my worth is not in my outward appearance, but my worth is found in Jesus Christ. So yeah, if I didn't have my faith, I don't know what, I would not be here today.
Yeah, and I want to talk about it because anybody that watches Bloom, the television format, or maybe even listens to this podcast, you know that we tell everyone that your belief system is your belief system, and we embrace everybody. We talk to everybody. We love everybody. But again, it just happens to be a coincidence that, the three of us kind of share the same scope. And I think what makes your messaging so uplifting to so many people and that you do rely on your faith is because many times when people are walking during darkness, they don't know where to turn, and they don't necessarily, maybe they think that by going to church or saying a few prayers, they're going to see some kind of miraculous immediate change. But that's not what the journey's like. And that's not even, what your experience was like personally.
Yeah, that's so good, Gail. I definitely, because I had, the privilege of considering myself Christian my entire life, growing up in a Christian household, I always had my parents who are of the faith, encouraging me, but that didn't mean that there weren't going to be hard days. And that didn't mean like, oh, I'm going to pray once and then feel better. Or I'm going to attend a church once and then feel better. It definitely was. There is some hard work that had to be done and some really hard work that had to be done. So everyone's journey is different, but as you said, like everyone has different belief systems. And sometimes it's when you're walking through really tough times, you have to lean on your belief system. And for me, that's really all that I truly had to lean on when my hair loss first started, because I didn't, feel comfortable talking about it with my family yet. Didn't feel comfortable, sharing that part of my life with my friends yet. But I knew I had, God I could pray to, and a church community that I knew would be accepting when I did feel ready to, come forward.
And I know like a lot of what I struggle with too is we rely on our own strength a lot. And, did you struggle with that at first? In that transformation of, I need to just put faith somewhere so that I'm not doing this all on my own.
Yeah, I think when I first started, I was like researching, okay, I'm going to use this oil and take this vitamin and find the best dermatologist and do all these things. And I the Holy Spirit literally told me like, Analis, you are not meant to carry this burden.
Like you need
to sit down. You need to sit down somewhere. You're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to make yourself sick because you're trying to carry the weight of all of this alone. So like you said, it definitely, you can't, when you're going through something, sometimes you're not going to be able to rely on your own strength because we're human. Like our strength has an end. And I think when I found the end of myself, I was able to say like, okay, Jesus, take the wheel because I'm done.
I think that's a good point, because I think there's that moment where you're like, oh, you're in the deepest pit.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I need to stop relying on myself and rely on someone else, something else.
And I'm going to be honest, Sarah, there is a women's conference at our church that I spoke to, I think like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and it was that week where I actually like let go of me trying to do it on my own.
Wow.
Because I was like, I can't sit in front of a congregation of women and say that I feel confident and I rely on the Lord if I'm still like holding the situation with like a closed fist. So it was literally that week, because I think the conference might have been on a Thursday. It was like the Sunday or Monday where I was like, okay, I actually have to let go of trying to fight this fight on my own.
Yeah. Was that the first time you'd ever really
that was the first time
and shared your full story?
Yes, that was the first time I didn't have a wig on at church. That was the first time a lot of the people in the small groups that I was in found out about it. And I think it was a few weeks prior to that is when the story I mentioned was printed. And that was kind of when I like went public about it on social media. So that night definitely marked like a lot of just kind of relief, and I just felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because I knew like, okay, I'm not doing this on my own. There's people that are going to welcome me with open arms, with or without hair. And if they don't, like, they were not my people to begin with.
Exactly.
So,
and your journey is that of hair loss and this devastating diagnosis that, there may or may not be a safe treatment option for you in the future. And you don't know. But right now, you have fully accepted yourself for who you are. And I believe that when you put yourself out on social media, I know you do a huge, online service with Radiant Church, and you're a journalist. Your story gives hope no matter what darkness somebody is walking through. For you, it's specifically your hair loss journey. But for people listening and watching and following you, it's a story of hope.
Thank you. Yeah, and that is what I have prayed for. Allow me to be used that way. Allow me to be able to bring people hope, and just know that whatever you're going through, and I used to hate when people said this, like, oh, it's going to be okay. But it is going to be okay, whether that's on this side of heaven or in eternity. Like, it will be okay. But you don't have to go through it on your own. There's people that might be going through the same thing you are. And I really, because I mentioned earlier, I didn't know anyone with alopecia. I really hadn't even heard about it. But once I started sharing my journey online, I've built a community. I've joined communities of people with alopecia, and it's been so cool to connect with people, in Germany. I have a friend in LA. There's people all over the world who we found each other through just being vulnerable and being opened. And, the DMs that I get daily of like, hey, thanks for just posting a selfie of you like bald with no lashes, because that really allowed me to know that, my diagnosis, like I can also use it for good. So it's honestly, this diagnosis has been the biggest blessing of my life, which 3 years ago, I would not be saying that. I'd be kicking and screaming and crying about it. But now I can definitely say that this diagnosis has been one of the biggest blessings of my life.
And I'm sure men, get this diagnosis all the time, but society, and I think that this is fair to say, I mean, yes, men fight hair loss all the time and they want a full head of hair. And I'm not, trying to lessen that. But for a man to be bald in society, that's just accepted. Yeah. That's okay. And I think, when it comes to women and our beauty and our self-worth, I think that finding that and tapping deeper is more difficult than a lot of us realize. Yeah. Like, there's going to be people out there listening or watching this right now and say to themselves, how did she do it? Like, how did she dig that deep and find her worth in a way and through a lens that she might not have looked through before?
Yeah, a lot of crying, a lot of tears. I remember the first time I went to Target without a wig, I sat in my car and I didn't want to get out. I was like, someone's going to stop me. Someone's going to say something. And I just looked in the mirror. I said, Analis, you're getting out of this car. And it's going to be okay. So it was a lot of like self-talk saying, it's fine. Like, go into Target, get what you came here for, and you're going to be okay. And I remember like making a little video to my sister. I was like, I'm about to do this. I'm about to go into a store with no wig. And then I had her cheering me on, and she, being a little sister, sent it out to my parents. And now they're cheering me on. So it was definitely not easy to present myself to the world in person that way at first. But now I love it. Now, there's one thing that I used to not really like. If someone were to be like, oh, you're so brave, like at Publix, oh, you're so brave to leave the house like this. It's like, thank you. It's like, no,
who
it's
would
not.
even think to say that?
It's like a backhanded compliment, it seems like.
I'm not brave. I'm just being me.
Right.
So that's not the and I also get comments about like, oh, are you sick? And that's why I'm very mindful of saying like, alopecia is an autoimmune condition, an autoimmune disorder even, but not an autoimmune disease. Cause like, I'm not sick. I'm not going to spread anything. So just taking those moments that can kind of be awkward, and just educating people. And I even remember like at church, like, oh my gosh, Analis, why did you shave your head? I'm like, I didn't shave it.
It wasn't my choice.
Let me, use this opportunity to educate you, because a lot of people have never met anyone with alopecia or have even heard of it. So and as a generalist, like, I love educating. I love, disseminating information to people. So I always like use those kind of awkward moments and those, oh, you're so brave moments to educate someone.
It takes a lot of grace.
It does take a lot of grace that I would not have had without this diagnosis. And I realized like how maybe not so kind I have been pre-alopecia. And I'm like, okay, no, this is the time to, tap into the Holy Spirit and say, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to share grace with people because they don't know what I'm going through. And also they're probably going through something too.
Right.
So talk to me about your career, your platform that you educate people about alopecia. Tell me about what you're doing with Radiant. Like, let's talk about you and the day in the life.
Yeah, a day in the life. So I am a journalist. I work for Axios. I get to cover entertainment and sports, that's what I went to school for. I went to the University of South Carolina to become a journalist, become a reporter. And that's what I get to do every single day. And it's been like, I love my job. And I used to thought it was so cliche and kind of corny when people are like, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. And like, now I actually can say like, oh, this doesn't feel like work. So that's been a huge blessing from the Lord. And then outside of work, I love social media. I love TikTok and Instagram and posting like get ready with me videos and posting, places that I go to, like food content, makeup content. So that's been really fun. And it was kind of a no-brainer to talk about my alopecia journey, like through those outlets. And then, outside even social media, very involved with my church. I lead youth. I lead the high school girls at my campus, my church location. And just being able to speak life into their situations that they're going through in high school, that I'm like, you know what, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like, we're going to get through this together. And then being able to host our online broadcast of our church sermons, with a wig and without a wig sometimes has been really, really cool as well.
And that reaches hundreds of thousands of people around the world.
Yeah. I remember the first time I hosted Radiant Online without a wig. I was really nervous because I'd hosted so many times with a wig that I was like, I wonder if like anyone's going to say anything in the online chat, or I wonder if I need to like explain it. But I ended up just like going with it, and getting DMs from people like, oh, I watch Radiant Online. I saw you without a wig. Like, are you experiencing alopecia? Because I am too. And I'm like, okay, wow, this is so much bigger than me. So it's been really cool to see how it's touched like every area of my life. But yeah, social media and showing like my journey to the world has been super, super fun.
Sarah, do you have any more questions for Analis?
Yeah, what would be, I do want to point out that I watch you on social media. And I see you at church all the time, and you bring such a positive light to just your presence is so positive.
Sarah.
And I think you make conversations like this approachable.
Yeah.
Which I love. And I think it's important, like you said earlier, in educating people.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be your lasting message to people who may be going through something similar?
Yeah. My message to people who may be going through something similar, find community so you don't have to do it alone. As you said before, Gail, like tap into your belief systems, and just kind of take the chance of being open, because you never know what could happen. And I guarantee you're gonna open up. You're gonna find a community of people that also are going through the same thing you are. You're gonna open up, and you're gonna, grow as a person and kind of re-find yourself. So I definitely encourage someone, if you're going through a dark time, a difficult time that doesn't seem like it could be used for good, or doesn't seem like there's anything positive, is to start sharing and making an effort to find community, because it takes a village. And I definitely would not be able to get through the dark time of my hair loss without a community of people like ensuring me like, no, Analis, you're still beautiful. You still can have a positive presence, and you can talk about it in a way that it doesn't feel so heavy and so dark. Mm-hmm. And then get to a point where, you're laughing about it and you're finding, the positivity. And I joke all the time about being bald, like at the most unhinged, inconvenient times. Like someone will be like, oh, I went to the hairdresser and they felt like they messed up my hair. And I'll be like, same. And that's what happened to me.
I saw a video on your TikTok or your Instagram of you pretending to curl your hair.
Yes.
And
I
thought it was funny.
It's so cheesy, but I'll do these like get ready with me videos of me doing my hair, but I don't have any. And those are my favorite to do. So just like being able to laugh about it. Yeah. And I was not laughing when it first happened, but now being able to like joke about it and laugh about it. And sometimes make other people feel uncomfortable if I make bald jokes so they don't know, like, is it okay if I laugh? Like, is she gonna be offended? I'll be like, you can laugh.
It's okay, I'm laughing
it's
too.
okay.
Yeah.
That's been really cool to just really put like a humorous and positive spin on this situation.
Yeah, and I agree that, life changes on the other side of having a community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it helped me.
Yeah.
Radiant changed my life. Community, friends, having that support system.
Yes.
So important.
So important. And I was really worried. I was like, I'm going to try to find this community and no one's going to have alopecia. And my church community, I don't know anyone at church with alopecia. If you're listening, like, please let me know. I'd love to be your friend. But like, it's okay if they're not going through the exact situation you are, as long as you know that you guys can go through a tough situation together. That's really what has encouraged me.
Yeah. And I think too, when we talked a little about this on the show, and I think people want that immediate fix, but part of it is the walk, and it is the journey, and it is the staying in faith.
Yes.
Because inevitably, like, I've been through very, very, very dark chapters of my life. And if you just keep walking in faith, it's amazing. Eventually you get to the other side of it and you look back and you're so grateful for having that support, both with your faith and with your tribe, with your people that surround you and lift you.
Yes, it's definitely a journey, and you just have to keep walking. You don't have to run. You can walk and you can crawl if you need to. And you just have to keep, fighting daily to be able to, see that other side.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful way to close it all out, like a little tiny bow.
Yeah, I love this. Analis, you are amazing. We hope you come back. And, you always have a place with us here at Bloom. We'd love to have you on the show, online, on air. You're the best.
Thank you so much, Gail. And thank you so much, Sarah,
Thank
for
you,
having
Analis.
me today.